I was feeling quite uptight last week, and I only really managed to put my finger on what was causing the tension when I spoke to my mum over the weekend. She asked me how my week had been and what I'd done, and I said to her, I feel that I've been really busy, but I can't say doing what. Work has been really bitty and bobby, but nothing big has happened, and all I know is that I don't seem to have had much time to sit down and do my own thing. As I've been reflecting on the week, I've realised that the problem was that it felt as though my to-do lists were getting out of hand. I discovered there was a problem when I woke up in the middle of the night, completely convinced that I'd emailed the wrong documents out to people, and then I couldn't get back to sleep while the question of whether I had or hadn't was going round and round in my head. Fortunately, I've managed to start this new week with a clean sheet work-wise, so there is, I feel, some hope of me retaining control in that direction. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for my personal to-do list. I just seem to keep adding to the little jobs that need to be done. I found myself cooking dinner yesterday while thinking about the repair jobs that are stacked up by the sewing machine, the carrier bags of Bramley apples I was given last week that need peeling and cooking ready to go in the freezer that needs defrosting, the shower drain that needs unclogging, the grass that needs cutting when we finally have a couple of days that are sunny to dry the lawn out first, the clothes in my wardrobe that need thinning out, and that's before I get on to the general cleaning and sorting out of the kitchen cupboards, which desperately needs doing. None of these jobs will take a massive amount of time, but it feels that there are so many of them, and it's all these little things and others like them that have been weighing on my mind. Little things soon mount up and can quickly feel like so much more than they really are. I admit that I've been a bit overwhelmed at the thought of all the yet undone little things this week, and I probably could have done a couple of them if my attention hadn't been taken up with these feelings of being snowed under or out of control. But as I've been reflecting on this, I've begun to realise that there's maybe a positive side to the little things, and to the fact that together they seem to grow into something much more than the sum of their parts. St David, a 6th century bishop in Wales, is reputed to have preached this simple message in his last sermon. Brothers and sisters, be joyful and keep your faith and your creed, and do the little things that you have seen me do and heard about. This phrase, do the little things, sums up a positive and practical approach to life and faith. Generally in life, if we don't get round to doing the little things, whatever they are, they weigh heavily upon us. It doesn't just have to be jobs that need doing. If we don't do the little things, if we neglect the small acts of kindness or apparently trivial actions that actually would make a massive difference to somebody else, then we might find ourselves carrying a burden of guilt, or at the very least missing out on the blessing and enrichment that comes from loving and caring for others and showing it in the things we do. These acts of love and kindness don't have to be grand gestures. The little things often have the largest significance. Sometimes they might not even seem very costly to us at all. A word of care or encouragement can transform someone's day. A brief email or note of thanks and appreciation can lift someone from despair and disillusion into hope and joy. And all these little things soon mount up and set off a chain reaction that can ultimately transform the world. I think Jesus is really interested in the little things. He tells us that when we do the smallest thing for another person, we're doing it for him. The smallest thing, good or bad, we're doing it to or for Jesus. That might sound like quite a sobering thought, but actually I think it's liberating too, and I think it's something we need to remember and reclaim in the life of the church. For a start, in our church fellowships, we're not always very good at treating one another like Jesus. We're not always very good at doing the little things for one another. We are often exceptionally good at noticing the little things that someone else has done that have annoyed us, and we're good at finding fault with all their little things. Imagine what church could be if we all tried to cultivate the intention to do something good or say something encouraging to each other at every opportunity, no matter how small. Imagine the chain reaction that would fizz around our fellowship and ricochet out into the wider community. And imagine how it could transform our approach to mission and discipleship too. In the church, I think we often get really hung up on grand plans. We think there's something wrong if we haven't got an intricate strategy for growth. But often these plans and strategies are the biggest things that distract us. We can spend a lot of time on paper working out the detail of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, without ever leaving our comfort zone and putting any of it into practice. But crucially, I think both mission and discipleship are intrinsically about the little things. To grow as a disciple is to consciously make the day-by-day decision to take another step and follow Jesus. It's about one step at a time. It's not about looking ahead to a point miles down the road and thinking, that seems a bit far, I think I'll stay here. It's the little challenges every day, the little opportunities to allow ourselves to be guided by the Holy Spirit in the responses we choose to make to the situations in which we find ourselves. The little ways in which we can be loving when our first instincts might be not to be so. The little steps we can take in letting Jesus into our lives and asking him to shape us a little bit more. And the same is true for mission. We're often frightened of the very word mission because it conjures up images of us standing out in the streets or at large events. Actually, the most effective sharing of the good news about Jesus happens through the little things. If you look at Jesus, there were occasions when large crowds followed him, but most of his teaching and serving was done with individuals and small groups of people. Mission happens through you and me taking an interest in the people we work with or the people we meet in particular places and particular activities, getting to know them, doing the little things to show that we love and care for them, doing the little things that are really glimpses of the Holy Spirit alive in us, and being ready to account for the changes that have come about in us. We can throw ourselves into big, organised mission plans as much as we want. But if the work of the Holy Spirit is not evident in the little things in our lives, then we lack authenticity. And there's already enough in the world that's fake or a facade, masking something that isn't there. Yes, following Jesus is ultimately about a massive transformation that takes place in each of those who commit to learn from him, to love like him. But often that occurs step by step, day by day, through a myriad of little things that incrementally grow and flourish in our lives. I know that there's still a lot on my personal to-do list, but you know what? I'm not going to worry about it this week. When I can, I will endeavour to do one or two of those practical little things that are adding to the pile. But instead of worrying about it, I'm praying that the tension that surrounded the list last week will be lifted from me. You see, I've come to realise that there are a lot of other little things that I want to be doing, things that will let people know that they're loved and cared for. A clean, tidy, organised house may be nice, but it's not going to transform anyone else's life. And I want my days to be filled with the little things that I can do for others, so that bit by bit, I'm part of the transformation that I long to see spread across the whole world.